such an asshole.
So while the internet gods bless us, let's bang them out some more. From Regular here, want to pay you to read and make a video on DEI killed the CHIPS Act. This is a prime example of our government pushing DEI and killing actual production jobs and GDP, and just preventing an entire industry from being formed. I'm gonna have my reservations about the the article, but not the general point. DEI not just for Disney anymore. The link, this comes from The Hill. I'm gonna pull it up on my phone so that I could keep an eye on the internet speed with that guy. From The Hill, DEI killed the CHIPS Act. DEI, the identity obsessed dogma, let's just call it racist and sexist. That's what it is. That goes by diversity, equality, and inclusion, has now trained Google's new AI to refuse to draw white people. It is so apparent now. It is. What's even more alarming is that it's also infected the supply chain that makes the chips powering everything from AI to missiles, endangering national security. This is now, in fairness, yes, giving minorities and women jobs because they're minorities and women is not going to help the GDP and the standards of living for all people. However, the Native American population, I don't mean American Indians, I mean people born here, we're all going to shit. This is why I have the economic efficiency loss of the day. This is everyone. You're all a bunch of lazy, dumbass motherfuckers. Go shop your fat ass at one. Gee, I wonder why China makes all of our shit. Well, we're not going to make it, right? Am I right? Right, guys? Right? We're all going to become YouTube influencers. So, and you won't, people are slowly waking up to it in the form of inflation. Like, why is everything so expensive? Why doesn't anything work? Why is there a 5-week wait for an oil change? Because none of you fuckers work. That's all of you. All of you. I did my own oil change. I'm fine. But it is going to permeate into every fucking microtransaction, every transaction, every interaction. It's where it's not death by 1,000 cuts, it's death by 1,000,000 mosquito bites. That's what's going to happen. I'm sorry, do black people use cell phones too? You guys use that too? I wonder what's going to happen to prices if we don't knock it off with the political bullshit and let Americans, regardless of whether color or stripe, produce the fucking shit. I wonder if we could get more housing. In fairness, the liberal bored housewives, white women of the suburbs, knocked it off with their "don't build in my backyard." No, I don't want housing there. Oh no, we can't. Wonder if we just liberated and made it that we could build housing and got rid of all the, what do they call them, codes? Not the safety codes, but the ordinances. Thank you. But this is just one other thing. Do you guys use computer? You use? No, only white men use computers. Straight white men. We're the only ones that use computer chips. The Biden administration recently promised it was finally loosening the purse strings of $39 billion of CHIP Act grants to encourage semiconductor fabrication, microchips, in the U.S., but less than a week later, Intel announced that it's putting the brakes on its Columbus factory. The Taiwan Semiconductor Manufacturing Company, TSMC, by the way, most of our semiconductors, microchips, are made in Taiwan, and we're bringing them back here to the United States, or at least we said we were, because China might invade Taiwan. Has pushed back production at its second Arizona foundry. The remaining chip maker, Samsung, just delayed its first Texas fabrication. This is not the way companies typically respond to multi-billion-dollar subsidies, so what explains chip makers' apparent ingratitude? In large part, frustration with DEI requirements embedded in the CHIP Acts. Commenters have noted that CHIPS and Science Act money has been sluggish. What they haven't noticed is that's because the CHIPS Act is so loaded with DEI pork that it can't move. The law contains 19 sections aimed at helping minority groups, including one creating a chief diversity officer at the National Science Foundation, and promoting, and several prioritizing scientific cooperation with what it calls minority-serving institutions. A section called Opportunity and Inclusion instructs the Department of Commerce to work with minority-owned businesses and make sure chip makers increase the participation of economically disadvantaged individuals in semiconductor. Okay, all right, already. So my concern with this is of the many reasons, whether it's red tape, political bullshit, corporate managerial bloat. I read another article by the New York Times, which is biased to the left, where they talked about they just can't find the employees, which I could believe because forget working at a semiconductor plant, which requires a fair amount of skill and training. You can't find people to go serve burgers. And that has nothing to do with raise or DEI or anything like that. But all this added bullshit. Look, when you Democrats stop sucking and licking minority genitalia, minority, whether that's race or gender or sexual preference, and I know you Democrats think you produce anything. You don't. You have to realize the real men and women who produce the real shit in the world need you the fuck out of the way. And all this bullshit, whether it's the main reason these semiconductor manufacturing companies pulled out or stopped producing, which I don't believe it's the sole reason, but it is a reason. And they've gone, I read the other article, they're going to Japan. No fucking bullshit there. I'm sure they have their own problems. Japan actually is somewhat of a bureaucratic nightmare. I think they're going to Europe. Again, its own problems. But Jesus fucking Christ, this is why I hate the adults. You just can't get the fuck out of the way and let us do it, can you? You fucking boomer cocksuckers. And by boomers, I mean anyone of any age. I mean the boomer act of obstructing and getting in the way of young people doing shit so we all might be able to progress. This is just an added layer of bureaucratic bullshit that we don't need right now. Hang on, my throat is going. The department interprets that as a license to diversify. Its fact sheet asserts that diversity is critical to strengthening the U.S. semiconductor ecosystem. Adding critically, this must include significant investments to create opportunities for Americans from historically underserved communities. Okay, HR was already a burden. Now you're adding more burden. Regulatory burden. Okay, fine. I guess we're not getting microchips. I guess we're not. And everybody, minorities included, get to pay more for whatever, their PlayStations, their cars, everything. Microchips are in a lot of things. The department does not call speed critical, even though the impetus of the CHIPS Act is that 90% of the world's advanced microchips are made by Taiwan, which China is preparing to annex by 2027, maybe even 2025. Handouts abound. There's plenty of the left requirements that chip makers submit detailed plans to educate, employ, and train lots of women and people of color, as well as justice-involved individuals, more commonly known as ex-cons. It's like the tax code. People do mind paying their taxes. No one wants to pay their taxes. I get it. But if we're going to pay taxes, can you make it easy? Can we just do a sales tax? No, we have to do an income tax. Why? We could have the exact same economic outcome where you still have a welfare state. All right. It's just the collection of taxes would be easier. No, the left has to get involved because they hate rich people. They hate successful people. They do hate whites and they do hate males. And they especially hate white males. And how dare you be straight, sir? And you, its privileges. So they got to make it overly complicated for everyone. There is no practicality on the left, none whatsoever. This is their latest tool, diversity and inclusion, fine. And if you look at leftists, they're all a bunch of trust fund baby assholes. None of them worked. None of them know what's right to run a business. They just think, well, we'll just do this. Well, that would make it fair. And yeah, now you make just the paperwork involved. Like, remember the PPP loans? The paperwork involved, I mean, maybe you didn't file for one. I didn't. I heard his friend of mine filed for one. Dude, either make it effective and quick or don't offer it all. $39 billion, huh? You just wasted that. They're not going to finish. How long do you want to bet it's going to take before one of these plants get up and running? And just this death by a million mosquito bites. This is a mosquito bite. Oh, fill out this paperwork and tell us how. Fuck off. I'm not, dude. They're gonna go. God, look, Democrats. You don't understand. They don't need you. They don't. The producers of society don't need you. You need them more than they need you. They'll just go somewhere else. That's what they do. It's called capital flight, otherwise known as brain drain. There's plenty for the right. Veterans and members of rural communities find their way in the typical DEI definition. That doesn't matter. I don't care that it's coming to quote our team or veterans or that's not it. Make it so we can produce the fucking chips. It's no different than how modern day HR departments require you have a master's degree, right? You need a bachelor's degree to have an entry level position. Does anyone like that? More commonly known as like There's even plenty for the planet. Arizona Democrats brag they won $50 million in CHIPS funding for an ASU project fighting climate change. They just can't pass it. That project is going better for Arizona than the actual CHIPS part of the CHIPS Act. Yeah, so an academic institution got $50 million in funding, but there ain't no new chips. Because equity is so critical, the makers of humanity's most complex technology must rely on local labor apprentices from all those underrepresented groups, as TSMC discovered to its dismay. Tired of delays at its first lab, the company flew in 500 employees from Taiwan. See, there you go. This angered local workers, since the implication was that they weren't skilled enough. They all have college degrees, I bet. With CHIPS grants at risk, TSMC caved in December, agreeing to rely on those workers and invest more in training them. A month later, it postponed its second Arizona fabrication. You little mosquitoes just got to make it so annoying to do business. Now TSMC has revealed plans to build a second fab in Japan. In first, which broke ground in 2021, is about to begin production. It's about to wait. So what? 2.5 years ago, roughly, it's already about to produce. Your fragile feelings, your leftist fragile feelings, cost everything in this country. It's including poor, especially poor people. Like that, you leftists are unaware that there's this whole production aspect of the economy. You're all just focused on who gets how much money and what's their genitalia and what genitalia do they like to lick. You guys would be pissed off if we get back to the Stone Age. You'd be upset that somebody has 3 stones and the other guy has 2, while everyone else is like, we could have had flying jetpacks by this time. And they allow TSMC has learned that when the Japanese promise money, they actually give it, and they allow it to use competent workers. TSMC is also sampling Germany's chip subsidies, as is Intel. Intel is also building fabs in Poland and Israel, which means it would rather risk Russian aggression and Hamas rockets over dealing with America's DEI regime. I would also say, and again, in fairness, other articles I read, it's not just DEI. There's other regular old American government bloat. Samsung is pivoting towards making its South Korea homeland the semiconductor superpower after Taiwan falls. In short, the world's best chip makers are tired of being pawns in the CHIPS Act's political games. They've quietly given up on America. Intel must know the coming grants are election year stunts. More statements. Now, here's where it's speculation. We will know. In 3 to 4 years, we'll know. We're either going to have semiconductor plants in the United States making chips here or not. And here's another thing, just to say, Democrats, I know you don't listen. This is just to get funding. You have attached so many strings and so much bullshit bureaucratic hurdles. This is just to get the funding. Can you imagine operating? And then what are you going to do? Are you going to recall? Oh, yep, you have to have union labor. Oh, fuck off. Fuck. Oh, would you like to have electricity? Well, you're going to have to bribe the local whatever, Arizona. No. You guys government's got to realize that you're very much like modern day Western women in the dating world. You're like, I am the table. And the guys, you're doing all the work and the production to make most of the money. Like, yeah, no, fuck this, I'm out. But America. But grants. Ooh, pussy. Look, got a pussy. Yeah, it's not worth it. It's almost identical to that. Like, look, pussy, dangle, dangle, dangle. Like, how much do I got? How much bullshit? What? Okay, now fuck it. I'm good. And they're going overseas. Oh, the parallels never end. For instance, chip makers have to make sure they hire plenty of female construction workers, even though they're less than 10% of the U.S. construction. Even though less than 10% of the U.S. construction workers are women, I believe it's something like 7%, if that. You could go get my book, A World Without Men. an analysis of an all-female economy, where I recreated an all-female economy based on what women work in the United States. Just to cut through, you don't have to read the book, but I recommend you do, but it's shit. It's third world standards of living. It's real shit. That's not an opinion. Go look it up. Go. You girls don't like that statement? Go look up my book. And you go tell me what's wrong with my methodology. Don't say, misogynist. No, you go look it up. You tell me where I'm wrong. And that's not my data. It's the Department of Labor data. Don't worry. We'll have plenty of HR professionals, plenty of elementary school teachers too. They also have to ensure childcare for female construction workers and engineers who don't exist yet. They have to remove degree requirements and set diversity. Oh, I agree with the degree requirements. I agree with that. I totally agree. That's one good thing. That actually helps more people get qualified. And set diverse hiring slate policies, which sound like code for quotas. It is quotas. They must create plans to do with closing and ongoing coordination with on-ground stake. Oh, God, fuck that. No wonder Intel politely postponed its Columbus fabrication, started planning a new one in Ireland. Now, here's why I do like the Hill's journalism. They found out where these other companies were going. The New York Times just said, here's the reasons they cited why they're not, why they're slowing down production or canceling production. New York Times did say, and then they curiously started up over in this other country. Meanwhile, Commerce Secretary Gina Raimondo, I'm sure you're going to say, hey, we ought to cut this out so we get some more semiconductor plants, right, Gianna? Launching a CHIPS-funded training program for historically Black colleges. This kind of reminds me when Obama said that there was going to be a lot of money spent on environmental programs and everyone went in environmental science and environmental engineering, and then there were no jobs because no firms. I don't even think they got funded on the government level, but no firms did it. So now we're not doing it. And then there's all these, a lot of you millennials have environmental degrees, right? How'd that work? You're not part of the problem. You're not part of the solution. You're part of the fucking problem. Quit being part of the fucking problem. Put the other guy back online. That's all you Democrats are. You're not part of the solution. You're part of the problem. Just get the fuck out of the way. Now the secretary is calling for a second CHIPS Act, but before that, let's make the one we have usable. There's an easy fix. A bipartisan group of lawmakers is already trying to pass a bill exempting CHIPS funding from the multi-year environmental review. There it is. Okay. I knew there'd be like an ongoing environmental review. Oh, just fuck off. No, we're done. It is just like dating Western women. He better this, he better that. What do you bring to the table? I don't know. Oh, fuck it. Just fuck it. Either give people the funding and get the fuck out of the way or not. And you corporations who keep donating to Democrats, by the way, diversity and include. I love Intel. You know, they gave Anita Sarkeesian $250,000 back in the day. And now Intel like, oh, why? This is costing us money. Oh, really? Did you fund the enemy? You did? Well, fuck right off, Intel. Required by the National Environmental Policy Act, the same need for speed calls for adding in a veto of the Commerce Department's diversity tag-alongs. All Congress have to do is insist it meant what it said about the CHIPS Act and no more. Giving poor people opportunities isn't a free pass to enact all the DEI's pet causes, and especially not to make national security wait on them. What Congress didn't give, Congress should be willing to take away. This is the stuff declining. How quick is Ukraine funding? Like, is there a lot of attachments to that? How quick does that? It just seems like, well, we did it. I just gave them more money. This is the stuff declining empires are made of as America pursues national security by building a diverse workforce. China does it by building warships. The CHIPS Act currently identify as jobs programs for favored minority means companies are forced to recruit heavily from every population except white and Asian men already trained in the field. It's like fishing in all the places you aren't going to get bites. Instead of solving the problem, like I'd be all for like training programs, sure. But you're not going to add the extra regulatory burden. Well, what percent are female? What percent are Hispanic? Instead of solving the problem, the people in charge are trying to cover the problem up just long enough to win re-election. Don't be fooled by the Biden administration upcoming weekend at Bernie's Act. He is weekend at Bernie's. The CHIPS Act is dead. Matt Cole, CEO, Chief Investment Officer. Yeah. No, I would not be holding my breath for any semiconductor plants in the United States. Don't worry, the jobs will all go overseas. Don't worry, it's all fine. All right, any super chats? We have 2. Evan M, 10 generous Canadian dollars. A batch of microchips, which can cost hundreds of millions, can be destroyed by a grain of dust. Yeah, I think there was like a small fire and it got into the ventilation system and it destroyed a $2 billion plant. One incompetent hire could be really costly. Oh, yeah, I hadn't even thought about that. Yeah, if you're going to hire based on the color of skin and not the content of character or competency, yeah, you're going to have doors flying off of your airplanes. I'm not accusing Boeing of that. That's where everybody went. But yeah, if you're going to hire not on competency, on a very fragile manufacturing process such as semiconductors, yeah. This is where one mistake, a very small mistake, can have hundreds of millions of dollars worth of consequences. You can't even hire a janitor randomly. No, you're right. You're right. I didn't think of that. Yeah, there is that. It was a small little fire. Somehow got caught up in the air system, hit the production floor, $2 billion manufacturing plant gone, wiped out. It's just turned into a building then. Mark Magana, $2. CSX engineer told me DEI class a thing now. Well, that's fine. I don't care. I'm going to be dead in 25 years. I don't care. All right, there you go. Questions, answers, Asshole Consulting. See you guys later. Toodles.